Look, if I told you the world's most powerful governments were secretly moving billions of dollars in gold out of American vaults under armed escort with military-grade logistics and zero mainstream coverage, you'd probably think I'm being dramatic. Well, I'm not. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what they're doing and what it means for every dollar sitting in your bank account right now. Because here's what nobody's connecting for you. India just airlifted 100 tons of gold out of the UK. Germany is demanding $194 billion in gold back from New York. And London's gold market, it can't deliver on time. We're talking weeks of delays in a system that's supposed to settle overnight. Something broke, and the people who run the money know it.
We're going to go into Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there.
We're actually going to Fort Knox to see if the gold is there, because maybe somebody stole the gold.
Now, before you think this is some tinfoil hat thing, let me be very clear. The receipts on this are obscene. We're talking official government press releases, central bank surveys, named officials going on record. This isn't speculation. This is spreadsheet level verified. And the enemy here isn't some shadowy cabal, it's the system itself. The same system that froze $300 billion of Russia's foreign reserves in 2022 and basically told every other country on earth, hey, that money you parked with us, yeah, we can take that whenever we want. That's not a conspiracy, that's a policy. And every central bank on the planet just got the memo. So what are they doing? They're pulling their gold home, like physically, on planes with armed guards, because storing your gold in someone else's vault suddenly feels a lot like leaving your car keys with your ex. Let's start with India, because this story is also cinematic. Back in 1991, India was so broke they had to pledge their gold reserves to avoid defaulting on their debt. They literally shipped their gold to London as collateral. National humiliation. Front page shame. Fast forward to 2024, India just did the exact opposite. The Reserve Bank of India repatriated 100 tons of gold from UK vaults. That's roughly 200,000 pounds of metal, the weight of a fully loaded 737, moved across an ocean with customs exemptions, military-grade transport, and months of planning. And they didn't stop there. Between March 2024 and September 2025, India brought home another 64 tons. Total over 4 years, 280 tons repatriated. As of right now, 65% of India's gold sits in domestic vaults. In 2022, that number was 38%. This isn't portfolio rebalancing. This is a country saying, never again. Now let's talk about Germany. Because if India is the emotional story, Germany is the institutional one. Germany has 1,236 tons of gold sitting at the Federal Reserve Bank in New York, worth about $194 billion. And the former head of Bundesbank Research, a guy named Emmanuel Munch, just went public in January saying it seems risky to store so much gold in the US given the current geopolitical situation. Now, Germany already did a partial repatriation between 2013 and 17, moved 674 tons out of New York and Paris. That happened because regular citizens started a Bring Our Gold Home campaign, and it worked. So now politicians from the left, from the right, and the Green Party are all saying the same thing: bring the rest home too. When the world's second largest gold holder publicly questions whether their gold is safe in America, that's not fringe. That's the establishment validating what a lot of people have been feeling for years. And here's the broader picture. Central banks globally bought over 32,000 tons of gold between 2022 and 24, more than 1,000 tons per year. That's the highest annual buying since 1967. The World Gold Council surveyed central banks in June of 2025. 95% of them expect global gold reserves to increase next year. 72% plan to increase their holdings over the next 5 years. Poland alone added 67 tons this year. China keeps buying month after month, pushing past 2,300 tons. Turkey, Kazakhstan, the list goes on. Central banks, they don't speculate. They position for decades. When 95% of them agree on anything, something tectonic is happening. Now here's where it gets really uncomfortable. London is the gold capital of the world. The London Bullion Market has been the global hub for physical gold for centuries. And as of January of 2025, their delivery timelines went from standard next day settlement to 4 to 8 weeks to deliver gold that's supposedly sitting right there in the vault. And it gets better. The Bank of England actually started asking other central banks to lend them gold stored in their own vaults just to cover withdrawal requests. Think about that for a second. The vault that's supposed to hold everyone's gold is borrowing gold to fulfill deliveries. That's not a liquidity issue. That's a run. Between November 2024 and January of 2025, 393 tons of gold were airlifted from London to Comex vaults in New York. That caused Comex inventories to surge 75%. And the numbers underneath are even scarier. London vaults hold about 279 million ounces on paper, but the actual float, the gold available for immediate delivery, is only about 36 million ounces. Meanwhile, there are an estimated 380 million ounces in outstanding contracts. So do the math. There's more than 10 times the paper gold than physical gold available. That's not a market. That's a promise. And promises break. Now, why is all of this happening? One word: weaponization. After the US and EU froze Russia's $300 billion in reserves back in 2022, central banks around the world had a collective gut check. If they can do it to Russia, they can do it to anyone. The World Gold Council's 2025 survey shows 68% of central banks now plan to hold domestically, up from 50% just 4 years ago. The percentage actually holding gold at home jumped from 41 to 59% in a single year. That's the financial equivalent of every nation pulling its troops back within its own borders. Gold held in someone else's vault isn't savings. It's a hostage. Even the vault infrastructure can't keep up. Singapore opened a massive new facility in 2024 with capacity for 500 tons. They're already planning phase 2, expanding to 2,500 tons. Not because it's full, because the demand that's coming dwarfs what anyone built for. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, Matt, this sounds like conspiracy stuff. This isn't really happening. And you know what? Fair. I get it. But here's what I'd say to that. When the former head of German central bank research goes on record saying American vaults aren't safe, when India moves 280 tons of gold home under armed guard, when the Bank of England is borrowing gold to cover withdrawals, and when 95% of the world's central banks are all moving in the same direction at the same time, that's not conspiracy, that's consensus. And I'm sharing this because I don't want you to miss what the smartest financial institutions on the planet are doing with their reserves, while you've still got some time to think about yours. So what do you do with all of this? Well, here's the Jason Bourne version. You just woke up in the alley, you don't remember how you got there, but you're dangerous as hell, because now you know what's happening. So let's talk active defense. First, understand what gold is actually doing right now. It just crossed $5,000 an ounce. That's an 84% gain in a single year, the biggest annual jump in 46 years. Goldman Sachs is projecting 4,400 or so by the end of 2026. That's where it's going to settle. Bank of America says 5,000 is the new floor. These aren't gold bugs saying this. These are the same banks that told you to buy index funds and stay the course. When they start raising gold targets instead of calling a top, pay attention. Second, build your own war chest. You don't need to be a central bank to think like one. Physical precious metals in your possession is real liquidity, not digits on a screen. Not a promise from a vault in London that's borrowing metal to keep up appearances. And look, if you're just getting started with this, I've put together a resource at hedgethefed.com. It gives you the 10 questions that you want to ask whichever dealer you choose to buy from, so that you don't get scammed. It's not a pretty industry, it never has been, especially for the private consumer like us. So ask these 10 questions of your dealer before you send them a dime. hedgethefed.com. Third, think about your property as a fortress. The deed is still one of the most powerful financial instruments in existence. While everyone's chasing paper assets, your home is tangible, houses are tangible, they're inflation resistant, they're income producing. Use them accordingly. Consider inflation arbitrage, locking in long-term fixed-rate debt while the dollar loses purchasing power every single month. That's not reckless. That's exactly what institutions do. That's what your very own government is doing right now. You can learn how at inflationdefense.com. Fourth, diversify your solvency. Don't have everything in one currency, one bank, and one country's promise. The whole point of what we're watching unfold right now is that diversification isn't just about stocks and bonds anymore. It's about jurisdictions. It's about physical versus digital. It's about who actually controls the asset. The central banks aren't pulling gold home because they're paranoid. They're doing it because control matters more than convenience when the system gets stressed. You're not crazy for paying attention to this, by the way, if you're still watching. I mean, you're the type of person who doesn't wait to get blindsided. Treat your assets like a fortress. Build your war chest. Take your active defense seriously, because the people who print the money, they're buying gold. And that tells you everything you need to know. But here's what kept eating at me after I put all of this together. A lot of you watching right now, you already have a fortress. It's your house. You did everything right. You bought it. You paid it down. I mean, maybe you paid it off completely. And now you're sitting on $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in equity, and you can't deploy any of it. You're house rich and cash poor, which is a brutally uncomfortable place to be when the entire global monetary system is rearranging itself in real time. And you've got zero liquidity to respond with. And that's exactly why I pulled this video out here for you to watch next, because it walks through how people in your exact situation are converting that frozen equity into real usable liquidity, safely, strategically, without selling the house or doing anything that keeps you up at night. It's the difference between owning a fortress and actually being able to defend it.